Good morning, students. I'm going to start with last chapter of civics for your first term, that is the Union Executive. In the last chapter, we learned about the Union Legislature, which included the structure of functioning of the Parliament. In this chapter, we are going to study the Union Executive. Structure of the Union Government. The Union Government means the central government. The Union Government is made up of following constituents. It comprises of Union Government, which is headed by President, Legislature, that is law-making body, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, and Executive, the Prime Minister and Council of Ministers. Union Government, central government, three organs of state: legislature, executive, judiciary. These organs work for the welfare of people in parliamentary system. The executive is a part of legislature and responsible to the legislature. Now the Indian Union Executive comprises of the President, the Prime Minister, the Council of Ministers. Now, President, Prime Minister and Council of Ministers, they are the executives, where President is nominal head. But powers are vested in the hand of Prime Minister and Council of Ministers. Now, we will straight away go to the President. President. According to the provisions in the Constitution of India, the President is the supreme head of the state. The office of the President has the highest honor and prestige, and it represents the Republic of India. He is the first citizen of India, and all the powers are in his hand. That is executive powers. All executive powers of the state are vested in the President by the Constitution. Constitution has given this power to the President. The government carries out its functions in the name of the President. However, in reality, the Prime Minister and Council of Ministers run the government. Therefore, the President is the nominal and constitutional head, whereas the Prime Minister is the executive head. Election of the President. President is indirectly elected by the common people, directly elected by the directly elected representative of central and state legislature. Electoral college is the group of these parliamentarians and members of state legislature. Tenure of president is of 5 years. Qualification, that is, he has to be Indian citizen and he must have completed age of 35 years. This is the criteria for the president to be elected. That means all the members of parliaments, they actually vote and elect the president. Members of parliament are elected by the people, but the president is elected by the members of parliament. So that is why he is indirectly elected. Now, the tenure of president is 5 years. The person contesting presidential election should be an Indian citizen who has completed age of 35 years. The person elected to the position of the president has to take an oath while accepting the post. According to the oath, the president bears the responsibility of protecting the constitution and ensuring that the government runs as per the constitution. The president governs in accordance with the advice given by the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers. The responsibility of protecting the Constitution is shouldered by President, but if in any act of President violates the Constitution, then the Parliament has the authority to remove the President. This process is known as process of impeachment. any one house can lay the charge of violation of constitution and the investigation of the charge is carried out by the other house. The resolution has to be moved or passed by a special majority, that is 2/3 majority of the both houses of parliament. Powers and functions of the president. The constitution has entrusted the several powers and functions to the president. A few functions are enumerated as follows. The president summons the meeting of parliament. Prorogue. Prorogue means, it's a technical term which means discontinue a session of a parliament or other legislative assembly without dissolving it. Discontinue parliamentary sessions without dissolving. This is known as prorogue. The session of parliament sends message to both houses, dissolve the parliament after the tenure is over or even before the tenure gets over. Bills passed by Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha must be signed by the president. Without his signature, the bill cannot become a law. Any constitutional amendment, any bill has to be signed by the president, then only it is accepted as a law. President appoints the prime minister and other ministers on the recommendation of the prime minister. The party which gets majority seat elects a leader. He becomes the prime minister. Then he chooses his ministers, council of ministers, defense minister, education minister, sports minister, so on. And this name is sent to the president for his approval and president will appoint them. This is how this process is carried on. The president appoints the judges of Supreme Court and High Court. The president also appoints the governors of state, chief election commissioner and other important officers. They all are appointed by president. The president is the commander-in-chief of armed forces. Decisions regarding war and peace are made by the president. Very important person. Army, Navy and Air Force. The command during the war is given by the president. Without president's command, these three forces cannot take action. The president has some judicial powers too. For instance, the president has power to reduce the punishment, grant a respite or commute a sentence, a person, or in special circumstances grant pardons or reprieves on humanitarian grounds. Suppose if a person is given a capital punishment, hanged to death by High Court, then the last option is that person can approach the president, and in that case president has the authority to overrule the judgment of Supreme Court and High Court, where he has got the special power where he can go against the judgment of Supreme Court and High Court, and that person can be acquitted. All this is done on humanitarian grounds, but this is rarity in most of the cases. President has the power to declare emergency in case of crisis situation arising in the country. When there is a grave danger to country, when there is emergency, in that case, emergency can be declared by president. There are three kinds of emergencies mentioned in constitution. National emergency, when our country is in danger. State emergency, when a particular state is in danger. Or financial emergency, when country is in financial loss, when the treasury is bankrupt. In that case, financial emergencies can be declared by the president. This power is vested with the president. In the absence of president, his functions are carried out by vice president. The vice president is elected by members of both the houses, that is Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. Now we go to Prime Minister and Council of Ministers. The President is the constitutional head. He is in charge of safeguarding the Constitution. However, in reality, his powers are nominal, and the Prime Minister, along with his Council of Ministers, is responsible for administration. We will now see the role and functions of Prime Minister. The party which attains a majority in elections nominates their leader as Prime Minister. The Council of Ministers is then formed of trustworthy colleagues from within the party. The Prime Minister will then choose different ministers: Education, Defence Minister, Agriculture Minister, Sports Minister, Human Resource Development Minister, and so on. The Prime Minister and Council of Ministers must be members of Parliament. In case they are not members, they are required to get elected to Parliament within 6 months of their appointment. Suppose a person is given a portfolio, a ministry. In that case, that person has to contest election from a constituency within 6 months. Then only his post as a particular minister will be approved by constitution. The government in reality is run by Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers. This means that the real executive powers are vested in the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers. So, administrative powers are in the hand of Prime Minister and Council of Ministers. Constitutional powers are in the hand of President, not actually in the power of in the hand of President, but he or President is the one who safeguards the Constitution. Functions of the Prime Minister. The foremost task of Prime Minister is to form his Council of Ministers. While doing this, the Prime Minister gives priority to trustworthy colleagues while considering their administrative experience, governance skills, efficiency and technical expertise. When all these ministers are appointed, the Prime Minister will see that a trustworthy person is appointed, a person who is, who has some knowledge of a particular work. That type of person is appointed. Like, Rajyavardhan Rathod. He is sports minister. And we all know he was an Olympian gold medalist. So accordingly, this type of people are given important job so that they know their work. They are expert in their field. After deciding upon the members of Council of Ministers, the Prime Minister allocates portfolios to them. Portfolio is nothing but, different departments which are held by the ministers. Different ministries. That is known as portfolio. The Prime Minister leads the Council of Ministers. The Prime Minister chairs all the meetings of the Council of Ministers. All the meetings are chaired by Prime Minister. After allocation of portfolios, the Prime Minister has to maintain coordination in working of various departments. He is responsible of taking care of all the departments. He will coordinate with all the departments. From time to time, he will judge the work of these departments, facilitate cooperation among the departments, supervise the working of these departments in order to maintain efficacy and efficiency. The Prime Minister also has various other responsibilities such as to raise the image of the country in the international arena and work towards achieving a favorable opinion globally, to develop trust among people and to provide strong support to people who are victims of any disaster. This is also work of Prime Minister. That is why our Honorable Prime Minister, he keeps on visiting different parts of the world, different countries, to create a favorable condition in favor of our country. This is all diplomacy, which is very important for name and fame of our country. Functions of Council of Ministers. In a parliamentary form of government, the Council of Ministers Have you heard about Jumbo Ministry? This refers to huge council of ministers. There was a trend to keep large council of ministers in our country. Later, a constitutional amendment was made to limit the size of the council of ministers. As per this amendment, the number of ministers in the council should not be more than 15% of total number of members in the Lok Sabha. This is called Jumbo Ministry. In a parliamentary form of government, the Council of Ministers takes initiative in process of law making. This is the most important work of ministry. The scheme, policy, plans are drafted and discussed and then introduced in the House. The Council of Ministers discuss important questions before making a decision. I will give you one example. This entire 6 months have been, period of pandemic COVID-19, and from time to time we have noticed that our Honorable Prime Minister with his team, Council of Ministers, different chief ministers, keeps on discussing how to control these epidemics. Standard operating procedure has been from time to time, guidelines have been given by Prime Minister regarding how we can interact in public during this COVID. Safe distancing, use of masks, sanitization. These type of decisions are also taken by the Prime Minister and Council of Ministers, because safety of the people is very important, and this is where Prime Minister and Council of Ministers, they play a very important role. Education, agriculture, industry, health, foreign relations, among others, are subjects upon which the Council of Ministers has to decide specific policies or directions of work. The Parliament needs to be taken into confidence about the policy decisions taken by the government. Whatever decisions are taken by the government, all members of Parliament, they have to be taken into confidence. Their confidence is very important. Then only decisions can be taken. Therefore, the ministers of respective departments lay their policy plans in the House to bring about a discussion on it. So all these ministers, from time to time, whatever new plans they come up with, all this is discussed and debated in Parliament House, where opposition party also sits. All the elected members sit. They discuss on that particular subject, on that particular problems, and then only decisions are taken. Implementation of policy is the foremost responsibility of the Council of Ministers. Once the Parliament approves the laws, the Council of Ministers implements them. Parliament approves the laws, and Council of Ministers implement them. How does the Parliament keep a check over the executive? In a parliamentary system of government, the legislature, law-making body tries to keep control over executive. Example, the Council of Ministers. The control is exercised in the law-making or policy-making process, implementation of policies, and even after that, a few ways of exercising control are there. Discussions and debate. Debate and discussions among the members of House are an integral part of law-making process. These debates and discussions help the members to scrutinize the policies, proposals and laws and point out these shortcomings. These discussions are essential for creation of healthy laws. That means discussions and debates amongst all these members of Parliament take place regularly on important issues. Finer points are discussed. They are scrutinized. In detail they are debated. And then only the Parliament comes to a decision. So discussion and debate is very important aspect of Parliament. Question hour. During parliamentary sessions, the proceedings of the House begin with question asked by members of the House. The concerned ministers are supposed to give satisfactory answers to these questions. All these members of parliament, they put up questions to respective department, and the respective department will have to give a satisfactory question. Suppose one of the minister stands up and puts up a question regarding why government has failed in controlling the COVID, or what other measures are government taking to control this COVID. And the concerned minister, the health ministry, the health minister will give appropriate answer, and his answer should be in such a way that he satisfied the entire house. He satisfies all the members of parliament. This is how question and answer session or hour is held. Question hour is one of the most effective ways of keeping a check over Council of Ministers. During question hour, members criticize the government and ask questions on various issues. Sometimes when a member is not satisfied with the answer of minister, arguments take place. Sometimes heated arguments take place. They come in the well and start objecting by shouting slogans. These are normal working of the house during question hour session. Occasionally members walk out of the house or enter into the well of the house and give slogans to record their protest. 0 hour. During the parliamentary session, the period around 12 noon is called 0 hour. During this period, any question of public importance can be raised and discussed. This period is called 0 hours. No confidence motion. This is one of the most effective ways to keep a check on the Council of Ministers. The government stays in power till it enjoys the support of majority in Lok Sabha. If the members of parliament withdraw the support, it may lead to loss of majority. That means government will stay in power till it gets majority support from House. Once that majority support government loses, the government has to immediately resign. If the members of parliament withdraw the support, it may lead to loss of majority and the government cannot stay in power. The member of the house can move a no confidence motion by simply expressing we do not have confidence in the government. If the motion is passed with the majority support, then the Council of Ministers has to resign. See, I give you an example. Suppose, or you all have your class prefect, and the responsibility of this class prefect is whenever class teacher or teachers are not there, or whenever class is empty, they are supposed to take responsibility of the class and maintain discipline. And if these class monitors, prefects, if they are not responsible in their work, if they are impartial, if they are partial, if they support their friends, that means they are not doing their work properly, then the entire class will lose confidence in the class monitor or prefect. Why? Because since class monitor is supporting some group and not supporting another group, and in that case half of the class may be divided and the class monitor will lose confidence, and in that case they can object that the class monitor should be removed, and in that case the class teacher will remove the class monitor. This is how no confidence motion is applicable. there is an extensive bureaucracy that works under the executive. All this thing we are going to study in next chapter. See students, since we are short of time, so I took this lecture today itself so that you can study it and our portion is complete, because from Monday you all have study leave. Please read the chapter, and if any doubt you can ask me, and I will also give you all the question and answers exercise which you are supposed to do it. Take care, stay home and start preparing for your exam. Thank you.